Hello. We're going to start off today's lesson by doing a do now. It is a quick write about your experience with the lab, the last class. Um, I want you to write about what you feel went well, what you think was difficult, what was fun, what was not so fun. How did you feel while doing the lab, and how do you feel when you finish the data collection portion of the lab? And tell me why. Why do you feel the way that you feel? It's just going to be a good primer for starting to think about this lab. There's some sentence starters at the bottom. Please take a few minutes and do your do now at this time. Our agenda, we did our do now. Going to go over norms and expectations, announcements, objectives. We're going to go into the anatomy of a CER, and then you guys will have work time to actually work on your CER. Your homework is your lactose lab data collection, which is the one paper. It's due Monday in class. And then your lactose lab CER. This class, we will have the CER in the graphic organizer form that you worked on last class. We will also have the CER in paragraph form that you are going to work on in this class. They are both due Monday in class. Period 2, due Tuesday. Our norms and expectations, as always, be punctual, be prepared, be productive, be present, and be polite. You will need your lactose lab today, so please make sure you have it out. If you didn't bring it with you, pretty sure I warned you to bring it with you. Today's lesson is going to be kind of a waste of time if you don't have your lab. Finally, you will be taking notes today. They're not mandatory, they're optional, but they could help if you struggle in writing CERs. So have something to write on and something to write with. Our objective today is that you're going to be able to translate our CER graphic organizer into paragraph form. So there's the paper that we work with, usually with our CERs, and we're going to be changing that into paragraph form today. Paragraphs are how scientists write conclusions for their lab. So we're taking our next step towards being fully fledged scientists. Real quick, just in case any of you were absent yesterday or missed this information, I'm going to leave this slide right here. We went over it in class, last class, but milk is derived from an animal and contains lactose sugar. Lactose sugar is broken down by the lactase enzyme. Almond milk is not milk at all. It's not derived from an animal, and therefore, it does not contain lactose sugar. But lactose-free milk, what is it? Well, if you look at the ingredients, the main ingredient is actually milk, organic reduced fat milk in this particular brand. Then the next ingredient, lactase enzyme, should give you a big hint to answering the question, which milk is which? So now we're going to get into the anatomy of a science CER. These CERs are going to serve as conclusions in your lab. So when you write a conclusion paragraph, you start the paragraph off with a claim. The next sentence should be your strongest piece of evidence. Follow your strongest evidence with reasoning, showing why and how the evidence supports your claim. Your second piece of evidence comes next. This should immediately be followed by the reason why this evidence is important. Your final piece of evidence goes into this sentence. That evidence is to be followed by your last piece of reasoning. Be sure to link the evidence to the claim. Lastly, you will restate your claim in a conclusion sentence. So if you need to, go to this slide in the notes as a template for how to write a CER in paragraph form. You have a graphic organizer that has 3 pieces of evidence. Those are going to correlate with the 3 blue sentences. You have 3 pieces of reasoning, which should correlate with the 3 green sentences. And then your claim should start and end your paragraph. So here is an example. Should students be allowed to drive at 13? Some of you are sitting there with your headphones in being like, yes, they should. Well, here is a CER giving an opinion backed by evidence. Students should not be allowed to drive when they turn 13. There are many hormonal changes happening to kids around that age. Because of these hormones, 13-year-olds might be too emotional to comprehend the reasons for and consequences of breaking driving laws. Also, the average height of a 13-year-old is 5 foot 1 inch. Since most teens at this age are not tall enough to reach the gas pedal and see above the steering wheel, it would not be safe for them to operate a motor vehicle. Finally, statistics show the younger a person is, the more likely they are to get into an accident. This could mean that if we allow children as young as 13 to drive, we could see an increase in injuries and possibly even deaths. In conclusion, students should not be allowed to drive when they turn 13. So now I'm going to reiterate. These are things that you should all already have in your notes, but just in case you don't, I'm going over this information again so that everyone has the same access to hear it. A claim is a statement that simply answers your driving or research question. A claim will usually be one sentence in length. A claim should not include any reasoning or evidence. Claims should avoid words like because, however, therefore. We're not explaining anything, we're just stating the answer to the question. Start your paragraph with your claim. This is the statement you will be defending. So in our example, the claim was students should not be allowed to drive when they turn 13. You can find your claim in your CER graphic organizer. It is the answer to the question, which milk is which? So you would say the pink milk is blank, the purple milk is blank, the blue milk is blank. That's it. No explanation, no because, no however, no therefore. Your evidence are your supporting sentences. The evidence is data. Remember data that you will use to support your claim or topic sentence. The evidence should be qualitative, non-numeric, such as things you observe or quotes from the reading. And in our example, one piece of evidence that is qualitative is there are many hormonal changes happening in kids around that age. There's no numbers involved, but it is telling you a piece of evidence. Evidence can also be quantitative, or quantitative, which is numeric, such as data from charts or experiments or statistics from articles. So in the example I gave you, the average height of a 13-year-old is 5 foot and 1 inch. That is going to be quantitative evidence. You all, for this lab, are going to pull your evidence from your evidence boxes on your graphic organizer. When we tested the pink sample, we saw blank, blank, blank. So you're going to use your evidence right in your paragraph. Finally, reasoning. These are your expository sentences. These are your explanations of how or why you know that the evidence supports your claim. So reasoning should explain how and or why the evidence supports your claim. It should be logical and easy to follow. Reasoning should follow the evidence statement and directly link it to the claim. So in here, I wrote the evidence statement from the paragraph. Also, the average height of a 13-year-old is 5 foot and 1 inch. Since most teens at this age are not tall enough to reach the gas pedal and see above the steering wheel, it would not be safe for them to operate a motor vehicle. Now, whether you agree or disagree, you will notice that this this reasoning explains why that piece of evidence supports the claim. The common mistake that students make is that they say the evidence is when we tested the yellow milk, it was positive for lactose or for glucose before, and negative for glucose after. This means that the milk is oat milk because it was positive before adding the enzyme and negative after adding the enzyme. That is just restating the claim. Your reasoning should not, or sorry, that's restating evidence. Your reasoning should not restate your evidence. Don't just restate your evidence, reread your reasoning. If you just restate your evidence, you are not getting credit for that reasoning. Tell me, what does that evidence mean? Why does it support your claim? So the rest of the slides are just resources for you. Here are general evidence starters, and just a final reminder, your evidence is just fact. You're not telling me which milk is which in your evidence. You're just saying, in our experiment, this is what we tested, this is what we saw. Here are reasoning sentence starters. Reasoning explains why and or how the evidence supports the claim. If you find yourself restating your evidence, you're doing it wrong. Start over. This is important because this evidence shows that, this evidence suggests that, this evidence confirms that. Based on this evidence, it can be concluded that blank because blank. The most logical conclusion is that blank because blank. In your graphic organizer, I gave you evidence sentence starters, or sorry, reasoning sentence starters. So you guys should be able to use those. And the meat and potatoes, how will you be graded on this CER? The rubric has slightly changed, so pay attention. To get 10 out of 10, you make an accurate and complete claim that answers the question. You provide the 3 strongest pieces of evidence that are scientific and data-based. No irrelevant evidence is included. If you talk about how the milk smelled or how the milk looked, that is irrelevant and you will get points off. Your reasoning accurately and scientifically explains the relevance of all pieces of evidence in support of the claim. No inaccuracies. Inaccuracies would be restating the evidence in your reasoning. Inaccuracies would be inaccurately picking the milk for reasons that are not correct. Finally, this is the one that changed the most. Language is now language and syntax because we are making paragraphs. You need to correctly use all 5 science concepts below. Those science concepts are lactase, lactose, glucose, enzyme, and control or control group. You know all of those words. You should be able to use them inside of your CER. Your investigator must correctly use CER paragraph format. So that format that I just gave you for your paragraph, you got to use it the way that I want it. And if you don't, you're going to get points off. And finally, your CER contains no grammatical or spelling errors. If your CER contains grammatical or spelling errors, you will get points off. So take some time and proofread your work. This is to avoid you writing a CER in advisory and turning it into me. You will get points off for turning in unrevised work. So for the rest of the period, you can finish gathering your evidence, writing out your reasoning in your graphic organizer, begin writing your CER in paragraph form using the tools provided in the lesson. And then on Monday, your data collection and CER are due. For this lab, you will be giving me your data collection sheet, your lactose lab, your CER graphic organizer, and your CER in paragraph format. We're going to staple all 3 of those papers together and turn it in on Monday. This assignment will not be on our 5-week grade. I don't have time to grade it. This assignment will not be on the 5-week grade. That is an error in the slides. One more time, this assignment will not be on your 5-week grades. Happy scientific writing.